on the right screen. Hi, Maddie. How are you?
Hey, Matty. How are you?
Please not smooth jazz stylings. I get so much of that already. The chat is going crazy saying hi to Maddie. Everybody in the world is saying neighborly and hi, Maddie. So, oh, wait a minute. People are saying they're not able to hear you. Let's try that again.
Hello.
I think we can hear Maddie now. Yes? Was that my fault?
Hello there.
Did you totally miss all the smooth jazz styling? Yes, okay, now everybody can hear you.
Fantastic.
All right, that was my fault.
Matty, before we dive headfirst into the obviously super serious discussion of podcasting, which we're about to inflict on these
people,
I do have to confess something. If you're familiar with Homestar Runner, and it's okay if you're not, because I don't want to talk about how long ago the site finished. There is a song on Homestar Runner for Labor Day, which is just Labor Day is today, Day. It's Labor Day is today, Day. And because
That's not what he sings.
And because it's Homestar Runner, it goes on for like 2 minutes. For the last couple of days, I've been singing Today Day is Labor Day is the... and so on and so forth.
He's just been singing Neighbor Day.
So, we're quite excited to have you. And we hope you have a lot of fun.
And I understand that you brought people with you that you wanted to share?
Oh yeah. I've got, this is Hamlet.
Tell everyone what Hamlet is, other than the last thing they'll see.
Hamlet is my emotional support porcelain clown doll, and all of my friends hate him.
Yeah, I can see that from the chat. Everybody is evoking signs of protection against Hamlet. So before we go much further, we should probably talk about the content warnings for this stream, because Hamlet is one of them.
It's going well.
Yes, it's going very, very well. There is an opening monologue, and we will try to remember it, but okay, first off, let's talk about content warnings. So there are an extensive list of content warnings that we put in the chat. They are for the entire first season of Neighborly. This is a non-spoilery stream. We're not going to ruin anything for anybody, but there's a lot being discussed. So if you need more detailed content warnings, please pop along to the link and you can find all of them. Clowns is one of them. Apologies in advance that we didn't do that earlier. And this is all the lovely, lovely places that you can find Neighborly and buttons. I push on the buttons. And Maddie, our guest, as well. Thanks. Okay, so I've done all that. Thank you for your support, Hamlet Protection Squad. Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes,
it's
exactly.
Going well.
It's going really, really
going well.
Okay, so
all
Maddie,
right.
You have an opening monologue, correct?
I do.
And can you show everybody something about the opening monologue that you showed me during sound check?
The thing about the opening monologue is it's right there.
Maddie has apparently printed this because our opening monologue is in the fine tradition of embarrassing our guests. We're going to make them read nice things Alasdair's written about them.
We need a jingle for that. Guests read nice things about that. Ding.
Or something like that. There we go. So for the opening monologue, Maddie is going to read Alasdair's review of Neighborly.
Mm-hmm. And
okay. I really am, haven't I?
Yes.
Let me just put him out of the way.
Don't let him out of your sight. You just don't know what might happen.
I keep him next to a mirror, which is even more cursed. But
traps his soul. Makes perfect sense.
Do you ever wonder about your neighbors? Who they are? What they do? Just what they're shrieking through the wall at 12:30 a.m.? I do. And so does Matthew O.K. Smith, who writes, produces, and stars in this first episode. Matthew is more than a slight air of Rod Sterling, a joyous, gentle voice wrapping us up in the description of Little Tree, and friendly, gentle syllables that unroll like you always imagine cotton wool should. Dorothy and Robert live in number 1 with their daughter Agatha. Dorothy and Robert are cheerful homebodies and loving parents who, as Matthew welcomes us into their home, have a very odd stain on the floor of their hall. This is the story of that stain, and everything beneath it. The genius of the show.
Yes, that's why we embarrass them. Yes, excellent.
lies in the contrast between what people see and what's really going on, all wrapped up in Smith's voice. There's constant mirth here, a sense of a story well told and with one eye on the audience, the host as a willing conspirator in a benevolent cabal rather than the standoffish sentinel of the Twilight Zone. The show is so fun to listen to, and Matthew's such a charming narrator that when the first hints arrive, you almost miss them. Then the second and the third follow, and before you know it, both you and Agatha are seeing just how far from normal One Little Street's residents are. But the show isn't done yet. This is that rarest of beasts, a horror story that doesn't finish where you'd expect, but somewhere better and darker, somewhere that recontextualizes what came before, the trailers are excellent, and sets up what's to come. All under 40 minutes. And with a smile that you notice far too late doesn't quite reach the eyes.
Good night, everybody.
Well, we were talking about succession planning. It's good to know that question's been answered. Right, so when do you want to start at Pseudopod?
Holy shit, dude. Holy shit.
Was that the whole review? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Well done.
Sometimes I write less than 700 words. It hurts.
Lies. Lying. You're lying. I love watching people narrate, especially when they narrate in, like, specific voices, because it's always fascinating to me, like, how it's reflected physically on their bodies. And that was a delight. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Say the part where you're a genius again.
Yeah. Say it.
You can't make me!
Well, everybody in the chat can.
When I was practicing reading
Come
it
on,
out, I
Jack.
did, like, get up out of my chair and, like, walk over there and just kind of stare at the wall for a second before coming back and sitting back down and keeping
We should,
practicing.
like, print it out as, like, its own, it needs to be a cross-stitch, like,
Yes.
sampler. The
Yes.
genius of, and then just right there. It can be a little pillow for Hamlet. Hamlet can go to sleep on the little cross-stitch pillow that says you're a
His
genius.
adorable porcelain head unblinkingly staring. Always waiting. Waiting. Anyway. So, let's talk about Neighbourly. Because one
Sure.
of the things which I find really...
Well, you know what, we're here.
One of the things which I find massively interesting about the show is you've done this thing where it is an anthology, but it's also an anthology wrapped up in a very specific location. And I would love it if you could talk about your thinking about that, and also how the individual stories influenced each other. Like, I'm curious as to who got which house and whether they had to be moved around, that kind of thing.
I feel like people assume a lot of work went into that part. But, so I came up with the framing device.
Quick, spell it out. That's how you could... It's the mystique.
We recorded a Q&A episode yesterday where I go a little bit into detail about this, so,
So it's a
like-
preview. Hooray!
the framing device, as I came up with, was essentially because I wanted to make a podcast. And originally I had, like, planned out to write, like, a full-voiced audio drama.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, this is too hard.
That's a lot of
It
work.
really is.
So I was like, I need to do something easier so that I can sort of get the idea before I move on to something.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, single narrator. And then I was like, what are the best single narrators? Like, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, but they always have, like, a reason why it is a single narrator. So I was like, okay, what's the reason? And in what situation and what kind of thing. And the other thing is, like, you have to kind of be different than everybody, but you know, and one of the ways you can do that is have, like, a narrative limitation, which is the fact that we don't return to these people in their houses, but we bring back these characters in a way that, like, hopefully, like, adds information and maybe, like, fills out the world and maybe even an overarching plot, which everyone keeps saying to us. But yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's like, this is a challenge that we're setting ourselves. It's essentially a dare. Where it's like, can you write a story with all of these characters that is, like, rich and vivid and interesting, and then just never come back to it? And that's kind of like the inspiration of it. Is, again, I'm a bit of a rambler, so I'll probably
You're doing great.
just go on about this, but if you remember the trailer for Sonder, which was just me reading out the dictionary definition, that's essentially the concept, is like, none of these people are aware that their next door neighbor is living through some wild shit. Like,
it's the idea that, you're the hero of your own story, and if you only have that perspective, then there can literally be mucho bad things happening 6 feet that way through a wall that you're just not going to be cognizant of because it's not your story. I love the idea of a challenge of tell a really rich story with a very diverse and wide cast, but only talk to each of them once.
Yeah.
That's a really fun idea.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, because I don't want to do too spoiler, but like in the instance that we do, and we have in season 1 brought characters back who've like made a brief appearance in one episode, then appear as their own house later on. And part of the challenge is like figuring out how to weave that in together and how to plan for like, why do they appear later, or why do they appear early? Like, what's their relationship to these people?
So how did you approach the writing of that? Was the idea that you're like, because this is a big it's a very inverted pyramid of a podcast, because normally a podcast you have a wider pool of talent and a smaller creative team who's creating everything. And Neighborly is the opposite. You have a very thick and rich creative team, but there's your voice. So from an artistic point of view, it has a much smaller cast than it has. So when you talk about these whole reappearances and weaving threads in while still keeping to that central conceit, do you all sit down together on Discord and be like, all right, here's your number, write your story, and then tell me what you've done, and then I'm going to do a reference. Did you write it all together at the same time? Did everybody write in isolation, and then did you do like a summit together to weave it all together? What was the process behind the ensemble writing?
I'm going to... Okay.
Creative
it's very
team is
anarchistic.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I couldn't think of a word.
The thing about it is I feel like a lot of people like assumed, based on the questions that were submitted to our Q&A episode, that I sat down and went, you do this, you do this, you do this, which would have taken a lot more energy. And like a lot of the times there was a lot of me going, I need this done. Can somebody do this for me? But I need to do less of that because I am in full-time education and can't. But what really happened was we would have our Discord server and people would say, I'm going to write about this. And we would eventually have like a Google Doc where people could read the drafts as they were in progress for the thing. And what ended up happening is, naturally, 2 things ended up happening, which I found interesting, is, one, to answer your question, people would naturally kind of go, oh, this is useful for my story. Can I reference it? And people would go, yes. And then, like, sometimes I would read, because I'm the only one who has to read all of them, and I would read all of them, and I would go, hey, you and you
have a chat.
You might, like, you need something in your story as an element to push the plot forward in this direction. You have something that might work. Talk. And
it's like AI.
The other thing that I noticed,
co-writing.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is another reason why I liked this idea so much when I had it is that it seemed like a good way to collaborate for people who don't know how to collaborate.
Was that intentional, or was that a happy side effect? Because you talk about how, like, you were like, well, I want to write an audio drama, but that's too much work, so I need to do something else. Was your idea, okay, instead of me writing 20 episodes, if I got 20 people and they each wrote 1 episode? I mean, it's like the whole, can you have a baby in 1 month if you have 9 women, right?
You kind of have the cart before the horse there, because people picked episodes before I decided how many there were going to be. Because people kept picking like house 125, and I'd be like, no, stop.
I'm not committing to 125 episodes.
It was more that we have to do all of these other ones first. Like, we're in house order. This is not a chronological story. because I don't want to mess around with timelines. But like,
yeah. Just a second here. We've got a lot of
We
report
appear to
of
be getting a bit laggy.
yeah, and I think it's coming through on Twitch's end because there's nothing on our end. So don't feel like
Because remember, why should a streaming network stream? Twitch.
It's not
We're
us.
kind of there.
Yeah, it's not us, folks. So just keep on going, Maddie. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
okay.
It'll catch up eventually.
The other thing I noticed that came about from our like anarchistic writing process is that people would kind of gravitate to these similar ideas completely independently of each other. Like, I don't know if you noticed in season 1, but there's a lot of characters who have like no fixed identity, or who have like a complicated relationship with like socializing because of their personhood is so vague. And none of those people realized that what the other ones were doing. They didn't know. So when I pointed it out to them, at first, when I noticed, I was at first like, oh my god, I have to tell these people to change it. And then I was like, wait, no. Because none of these are the same idea or the same approach to this concept. They're all completely different.
But they have characteristics. They have characteristics in common, which happen to be nebulous enough to make them. I just finished watching Loki, so nexus points. You know, they're little spots where things can cross over, right?
Yeah, like if you described these characters in like 1 or 2 sentences, they would be very, very similar. But the stories around them are extremely different.
Right.
Oh god.
And that's something that we've been started working on season 2, and that has repeated itself in a different way.
It's become a feature, not a bug. I see the chat describing as "let's go immortal people with identity issues." Yeah. It looks like the chat's running about a 30-second leg right now, so that's fine. I'm capturing questions. For example, one of the questions was, Maddie, tell us about House 69. Other than it's nice, obviously.
Nice.
Nice, exactly.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So one of the things which, when I was listening to it, I really liked, aside from everything, was I love how there is a sense of other stories going on in the background. There is a character who shows up in episode 2, which is one of my favorites. And there's a passing reference a few episodes later to someone who could be him. And I just loved that you had the freedom, you gave the listeners the freedom to decide, oh, that's character redacted. And it feels very organic. It feels like a street, honestly. It feels...
It's like you recognize people, but you couldn't, like, if you were pressed, you couldn't give a name or anything more than it's that person who does that thing on Tuesdays that sometimes I see.
Case in point, when I used to live in York, I lived in an end terrace house, which is the stuff of nightmares. And we didn't so much have a gate as have some woodworm in loose formation. And
hello to the raid.
Hello to the raid. And one night, we got a call from the police because someone had kicked our woodwork in, vaulted our wall, and attempted to burgle the house next door. And they were unsuccessful, but I lived in that hellstorm for about 7 years, and that was the only time I saw the neighbor I shared a wall with, because we were like, are you alright? And he was like, yeah, it's fine. Maybe get a gate. And that was it. So the idea of these people who live on top of each other but genuinely have no idea who they live on top of rings really true.
Yeah, and we live in a multi-story apartment building, so that is literally true. I'm like, I don't know who the neighbor is above us. I just know that they do exercise at the same time every day because they keep dropping things on the floor. Yes. Exactly. So I'm just going to say hello quickly to the raid. Hi, Anna. Thank you very much for joining us. For those of you who are just joining us, we are talking to Maddie O.K. Smith, the genius behind Neighborly. Maddie's already done the opening monologue. I will make it just a brief reminder that this is a non-spoiler discussion of Neighborly, but Neighborly contains a lot of different content warnings. So check out the link if you need a refresher on any of those. But we'll give you a heads up in advance about everything except for clowns. It's too late for the clowns. I'm sorry.
Also, thanks very much for the subscription, shitpost.
Yeah, great. Welcome back. Fantastic.
So,
to the list of questions. I know, because we have so many. What?
This is a question that comes from a place of creative exhaustion, and as when I'm sure you can relate it, how many hats do you actually wear on Neighbourly? Because you are the host, you are the showrunner, and
You're writing.
You're also writing.
And doing a lot of the promotion. And okay, so what are you not doing?
I am trying to do less. I'm like actively trying because like I'm autistic, so I tend to have a lot of experience with trying to communicate something that I need done to somebody and just not getting it come across in the way that like I can't communicate how something is important, or I can't communicate like certain things about a thing that I need to be done. So I've always kind of had the mindset that it will be quicker and easier if I just do it myself.
Okay, Stream Mama's gonna shake a pen at you because while it may be quicker, it is not easier, and it is certainly not long-term healthy. Ask me how I know.
Yet she has no experience
the
with this
thing.
at all.
None.
Like, Neighbourly has been an extreme learning experience. That's its main function, is for me to learn how to make a podcast, how to collaborate with people, how to ask for help.
I'm so proud of you. Good. Practice
That's what
more.
it is. It's like, cause like, yeah, like therapy has kind of taught me that like one of the most important things that I need to do in my life is to recognize where I need to be and set goals to get there. And that's, one of the things that it's a therapeutic experience.
No, that's good. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially since about 18 months ago, say, have picked up creative projects knowing that they had more capacity or at least had a lack of other options, and that teaching themselves skills was to be a good one.
On a related note, hello everyone and welcome to the stream.
Yeah, exactly. Gee, how long have we been doing this now, honey?
18 months.
16, 18 months? Yeah.
Start the car.
Start the car, quick. Make a break for it. Yeah, exactly that.
4 rats in a trench coat says podcasting equals therapy. Note. No!
A brief sidebar of personal experience which speaks very strongly to that, 4 rats. I had a lot of stuff to process during my time in New York, and being a Brit and an idiot, I was fairly convinced I had not processed any of it. My friend Olivia,
this was true,
who was listening to Pseudopod at the time and who I worked with, disavowed me of this notion. Because one morning I got into her car to get a lift over to Harrogate, where we worked in a pyramid for the NHS, one that was partially underground. It was the weirdest job I've ever had, and I sucked at it, and I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. And she looked at me and went, "Are you alright?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Oh shit, where are you in Pseudopod?" And she was like, "April." And I'm like, "Yeah, that was a really bad month. Maybe skip those."
Yeah, you can kind of tell by Pseudopod host spots what Alasdair's mood was at the time that they were recorded.
Ben's favourite one, and I'm sorry, I'm being very self-indulgent, is a 12-year-old episode called Why I Hate Cake. And it was a flash piece, and I recorded it in the 10 minutes before I went out to get a filling. And I realised none of this because there's no intro. It just opens with me going, "Okay, let's talk about cake." And I went off and got my face rolled and came back, and Ben was like, "Firstly, are you okay? Secondly, that was kind of brilliant. Do that again."
But that's a dangerous line, isn't it?
Yes.
If your art becomes not just your outlet, but your only outlet, that can become quite a slippery slope, can't it?
That's another thing that I'm trying to get better at, is that I have a tendency to just give everyone every bit of information possible about everything. So I'm trying to this is the sort of the most public face that I am. I'm going to just try and not do that for, privater things.
It's really hard, and it's especially hard at the moment because of lockdown. Because if you're a creative, you're processing a heftier emotional weight than you normally would be through what you make. And
and it's your outlet, and it's under your control when so many other things in life maybe aren't under control. It can be very alluring.
And I mean, from a listener point of view, have no worries about that. You do a really fantastic job. Genius. I wrote it down.
See, it's in writing,
It's
Matty.
been published, Matty.
that makes it
it's
true.
on the cupboard behind you.
I mean, you can't tell people that things on the internet aren't true, can you? My God, man, what situation would we be in?
So, what makes a Neighbourly episode? Is there something that you go, that's a Neighbourly episode right there?
You mean other than the song that gets totally stuck in my head?
Yes.
Like, in terms of writing or in terms of, like,
Subject
finishing
matter.
it?
What is it to you?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or, like, if you had to describe a Neighbourly episode in, like, a sentence, something short, what is the creative, what's the elevator pitch? What's the creative kernel of, this is what makes us us?
I mean, typically when I'm doing elevator pitches, I describe the format because it's so weird that people will hear that and listen.
That's a good elevator pitch.
It is a good elevator pitch.
Yeah.
It's like, so what's the elevator pitch?
So typically when I'm like, I want to listen to the show, can you tell me what it's about? I'm like, so basically it's every episode is a house on a street, and they're all a little bit creepy and a little bit weird, and they all interact with each other because they're all neighbors, but they don't know each other's stories. So you could be listening to an episode and then have somebody appear in passing, and then have another episode later on that is just about that person and nothing else.
Yeah, somebody put in the chat, good. Good
Yes.
is an elevator pitch.
Yes, absolutely.
Or it leaves me with more questions than I started with.
Yeah. That's the thing. We only pretend to answer your questions here at Neighbourly.
A Neighbourly episode, gay or horror or both.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because, like, not all... That's another thing about like, what makes an episode is that not all of them are horror. Like, we have some fluff in there, and that's partly because I was like, just put whatever in there, and partly because it's like, the juxtaposition kind of makes it more impactful sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Episode 2 is adorable. That's a perfect example.
Walter goes for a walk.
Walter
But
goes
even
for a
in episode 2 is a perfect example, because even in that one, there is a very... It's not fluff in the way that, like, not horror episodes do fluff.
The framing situation, when you step back from it and step away from the fluff, you're like, oh.
It's fluffy,
Oh.
but it's not nice.
It's yeah.
Because, like, okay,
Or
to talk about it vaguely to avoid spoilers,
yeah.
episode 2 being what it is and who lives there being who they are explains why what happened at the end of episode 1 wasn't particularly noted. But also, what happens at the end of episode 2, even though it's a fluffy, cute episode, is not fluffy and cute. It's scary and it's freaky. But it's like not as scary and freaky as what happened at the end of episode 1. So you don't register it. You're just like, this is a cute episode.
Was that intentional? Did you intentionally make 1 and 2? Ugh. Yee. Ugh.
Yes, because if we had led with E, then
Scientific term.
wouldn't-
Ugh. Yee.
Those are the two
Is
acknowledged
the sound of a
horror.
fluff episode now. You're welcome, internet. Okay.
if we had led with something like 2 instead of 1, then, like, nobody would have
gotten to
accepted.
2 and gone.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you start with
So, like-
1, everybody like us who are weird and broken and went, oh, got hooked. And then we get to 2 and we're just like, oh. Yay.
Exactly.
You know, the smile
Yeah,
starts
so
to
the intention
fade
with the
just a
first
little
2
bit.
was like-
Yeah, exactly.
It was like, these are the gamut. This is the most and this is the least you are going to get from the
North,
season.
south, yeah.
Exactly.
Setting expectations. The other thing that you said about, like, being gripped from episode 1 is something that is so important to me, because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and something that I see in, like, fan spaces for podcasts is people will ask, like, how far into this does it start to get good?
Yeah.
Because, like, podcasts tend to slowly build up.
Television shows.
And what
are
I
the same
wanted
way.
more than anything was to do, like, the because I've been writing since I was a very, very small child with the intention that one day I would publish a novel. And that is all of my learning and all of my, like, writing thoughts about that has been geared towards that. And all of the advice is that you have to start from the first sentence and just grab your reader by the face and shake them.
Certainly in short fiction, that's very much the case. And audio drama, I argue, with some authority, is short fiction in that sense, in that you've got to hook people from the beginning. Longer form things like movies, I just threw my pen on the floor, I didn't need it, it's okay, just style it out, it's fine. And novels can have a little bit more of the padding, kind of depending on your approach. But yes.
Not that we're implying you pad novelists.
But yeah, it is very much a different approach. And the science backs that up. People, and the statistics, you can't skim audio the way you skim text. Like, if you get to one of those 12-page long dinner scenes in certain epic fantasy novels, shall we say. Yeah. You just skip a couple pages and then you come on. You don't do that with audio. People don't... Shush now. Trying not to name names here. Behave!
Series,
People just stop engaging. They stop listening. So, yes, you were correct.
Yeah. And that's something that, it's a balance that you kind of have to strike, because a couple of times people have, responded to the first episode by saying, I didn't understand, or I didn't know it was happening until it started happening. And I was like, there's a balance that I need to learn to strike, and I can't take that to heart. I'm doing my best.
The most important thing you just said in that sentence was you can't take it to heart. And it is so difficult. There is an old John Mulaney routine about how he runs for mayor of nothing. How he desperately wants everybody to like him. And I have spent my entire creative life, due to the people who influence me, being nice Al. I'm the big, calm, friendly guy who
candidate for mayor of nothing,
who everybody likes and a lot of people don't see. And without getting into experiences that have occurred across the last couple of years, now I'm very much more in the kind of, no, I'm going to do the work and it's going to be good. And if you have an issue with it, that isn't on me.
Yeah, there's always more audience than there is creativity.
There is a glorious moment in the Tim Burton biopic of Ed Wood where he's on the phone and he gets to a critic and he's like, so, did you see my new movie? You did. You hated it. You thought it was the worst film you've ever seen. Well, you'll like the next one better. And he just hangs up.
Or as I put it, it's Chidi saying, hi, shut up, I'm confident now.
Yes.
Literally have that printed
The
up.
hardest thing you can possibly do in creative industries is do the thing. You and your team are doing the thing. And you are doing it stupendously well.
How did you go about recruiting the Avengers of audio drama writing? So did you just say, hey, I'm doing this thing and I could need some help, and then you got dogpiled? Or
I now desperately need a house on Little Street to have the Avengers theme tune as its doorbell. Just ding ding.
Well, I mean, no spoilers. But for how did we get the writers? So I'm a fan, and I moderate for a fan server for a little podcast called Stellar Firma, and I and most of my friends are Stellar Firma super fans, and
should have worn the Hail the Board t-shirt. Oh well. Okay. Next time. Maddie, when you sell your novel and we have you back on the stream, I will make a note to wear my Hail the Board shirt. Okay. Now that's all. Please continue. Maddie held us at gunpoint, says the chats.
Oh, now it comes out.
Did.
Now it comes out.
And everybody's like, nah, never heard of it, mate.
So what happened was I was like, I had this idea. And by the way, I kind of have to credit this show called Start With This by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Craner of Welcome to Night Vale fame, who they have like a writing advice podcast called Start With This that I would binge listen to, and it kind of made me think, oh yeah, limitations as a way of getting things interested. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, how did I get people? I'm a fan, so I run a stellar. I didn't start it, but I do moderate for
It's not my fault.
a Stellar Firma fan Discord server, and it is over 100 people. I posted in the writing server And in fact, if you are in that fan server and you search the word neighborly and click oldest, you will find the first like discussions, because it was a while we were in the writing channel of that server, talking and planning what we were going to do before we were like, hey, hold on, we should make our own Discord for this probably. So yeah, you can see a lot of the stuff, and then you can also see a lot of information in there that is completely inaccurate to how the show actually turned out.
So this was an elaborate viral marketing campaign that you now tell people, yes, go get the seed ideas. Honestly, it has nothing to do with my genius since then. Okay, and also, Maddie, you have to tell us about your shirt.
Yes, because there is
okay.
so much shirt love in the chat tonight.
There are dinosaurs on it. People who are not fans of me and my work are fans of this shirt. So I was like, I have to wear it. I also have pins.
I saw.
This is an ant. This is a shark.
Very well. It's a blue shark.
This is pronouns,
it's
but it's the fanciest pronoun pin I've ever seen. So I had to buy it.
Okay. Can we talk about fancy pronoun pins? Hold on. Let me get mine. Let me see if I can get mine. I have to hold it up in front of the camera, though. First, I have to show Maddie. See, I have my pronoun pin is She-Ra.
That's so cool.
Mine is
and I also have Haunted Doll Watch because
Alasdair's is He-Man. There we go.
Because
Haunted Doll Watch?
Have a Haunted Doll Watch.
Well, have you met Hamlet?
Not yet.
Does Hamlet count as a haunted doll or just a haunted
thank
doll?
you.
What is the?
He's not haunted. He's the light, and I do have a special
overlap between clown and doll.
Terrorize everyone I know with this young man. Like, I know this stream is rated mature, but I can't give you a demonstration. I think it would be too inappropriate. Not in like a sexy way or anything. It would just be so gross, and you would not ask me back. So I can't do it.
Neighborly merch, huh? She says, opening the link and squirreling it away for. Oh no!
Oh no!
Come back, Maddie. I can't put the.
Oh.
I have this.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, very nice. Sorry, Chad. I almost put the Etsy link up.
From the lovely Cloudy Apple Art.
Love it.
Yes.
Yay! That sounds fantastic.
Speaking of like the art and the music for the show.
Yes. Oh,
particularly the music. Reef Sharkivist is in the chat right now. I do not think we would be as popular if we didn't have Alex's music. Like it is all bangers and bops, and I love them all. Especially like this morning I was listening to after I first heard the theme song, I got it stuck in my head, but I'd forgotten where I'd heard it from. And I was like I was like, what is this from? Like, where have I heard this before? And then I realized it was the theme song for my show, and I was like, what?
Oh my gosh.
That is the best. That is the actual best.
So is it something that Alex created ahead of time that you're like, that is stuck in my head and it is mine now?
I think, okay, so, like I say, like, I was not telling people what to do. It was very anarchistic. So I think a lot of the very on in the process, people were very eager to please. So they were like, I want to prove my worth to this show and prove that what I'm doing is valuable here. So for example, Andrew, who does the art, committed to doing an art per episode. And I was at the time like, ooh, that does not seem sustainable, but I'm going to wait for you to realize that. And he did about halfway through. And it was great because he stopped. But for the music, I will go into Alex's DMs and very casually say, I'm editing this episode and there's this piece and I like vaguely describe the vibe. And I'm like, and there's no music for it yet. And I think that it would be good to have like something stock that we can just put in when something like this comes up again. And Alex is like, right, I'm doing it now. And I'm like, no, you don't have to do it right now. You don't have to do it right now. I promise, like, it can be done later. And they're just like, no, I'm doing it now.
That's part of being a showrunner, though,
Yeah.
isn't it? Is inspiring people to step up to that window of fascination and be like, well, I could pace myself, or I could put on a pot of coffee and sail up till 2 a.m. and make something awesome, and I'm a responsible adult and I will make the correct... That's a lie! I'm doing it now!
Never happens here.
Yeah.
That's not at all how I started on, holding up a tape recorder to you and saying, look at this fan art somebody wrote about Peter Lucas, honey, read it!
I will take that and raise you the moment where genuinely I regained consciousness typing a panel description 2 days into building a virtual convention from scratch.
Did that. Yeah, we did that.
And I have no conscious memory of being recruited. I know I was in planning meetings. I just returned to myself.
Yeah, in the middle of putting together an event. Yeah. But that's what it feels like when it works really well, isn't it? It's just everybody starts sparking off of each other and creating awesome things, and they stack and they build and they become an amazing thing.
Yeah.
But it is also...
For the Andrew's telling me to take a break in the comments, and I have to say that one of the things that I'm trying to do is I've gotten volunteers from the guest writers group, and I've been like, you people are the ones who I'm going to say, do this task. I need this done, so that I might be able to take a break. That is a very difficult transition in from one person doing like miscellaneous things, because I'm the one who notices when a thing needs to be done, and that's kind of what I want to have.
You want a receptive audience of sea otters who are going, yes, give me task, and then you spit tasks and they catch them like beast balls and they run away and they do them and they come back to you with the little wonderful, dead, creepy projects and presented to you like the loving parents, right?
Little otters with the cute little hands.
With the cute little hands.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I thought Andrew was yelling at, yeah, shut up, Wendy. Yes, Wendy. Wendy is shaming me to say that I should be doing more of the same thing, which is completely and
why on earth would
accurate.
she do something like that?
Hush now. Hush now. Hush now. I think you should lean out of frame and we should show Maddie what Wendy has wrought for the boy. So, for the raid who has joined us, you may not have met the boy, but we would like to present to you Chungus and Chungus's amazing neighborly cosplay. Complete with little burb friends. We have an indeterminate little bluebird, I am told. And I believe Wendy described this as a magpie.
That is not a magpie.
I can't... Well, you hold them up. My hands are full. I'm holding the boy. Display the birds.
Observe the bird.
Observe the adorable birdness. It is very cute. And look, like it's on a magnet. It's a little house. And it fits on his head. And it is so cute. But I'm very cute at it. And the little birdies live here. When I'm not going to put them on Alasdair's head. Honest.
That will happen later. Oh
you were very good at that. Disturbingly.
Are you Batman? Because I kind of feel like you might be Batman.
Scooch over a little bit.
No, I just have messed up teeth. But that just reminded me, because I work with kids. And is Neighborly for kids? No. Is it inspired by my work with kids? Yes. So I don't know if you can tell, but the narrator voice is basically me doing all the voices when I'm reading a story as though I'm reading it to a child. That is what the voice is, except creepier. Because I love kids' horror, and I didn't think that I did. I didn't think that I was a horror kid. I didn't think that I liked kids' horror. But my favorite book as a child, which I still remember off by heart, was called Frank Was a Monster Who Wanted to Dance. And there's a story about a Frankenstein.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I know it off by heart. It was I want you to read this book to me. I'm 4 years old. Please read it to me. And it's about this guy he's Frankenstein. And he gets onto he goes to a stage and he starts dancing and his body falls apart. And he's everyone's screaming and running away. And he's just I did my best. And that's the whole story. And I was obsessed with it. And I was horror is scary. But when I was 8 years old, I read Macbeth and Frankenstein and well, okay. I feel like whenever I say that, I must preface with the fact that when I was 8 years old, I saw Macbeth and Frankenstein on the shelf. I said, haha, if I am 8 and I read these now, I will have bragging rights for life. And I took that opportunity.
That is 100% valid. You made much better selections than I did. I was 12, 10, 11, somewhere in there, and I picked the Federalist Papers. Don't do that. There's no commas. He writes like 3-page long sentences. It's ridiculous. Macbeth is much cooler.
Mm. Yeah.
I spent years convinced I was a science fiction kid because I read stuff like 2010.
Well, you are. You just like
and
nasty
then,
monsters in your science fiction. Let's be honest.
You know, I realized that the stabby side of the street is more fun. Stabbier.
But, like, the thing about it is that I didn't read Goosebumps, because, like, we had, like, a mobile library, and all of the kids who were, like, into scary things were like, I'm reading Goosebumps because it's scary, and I'm like, oh no, I don't want to read it because I'm scary, but, like, meanwhile, has Macbeth open and is like, I love the plot twist at the end of this. Because I was like, I kind of associated, like, horror with food dares, you know what I mean? Like, people don't do this for fun, they do it because it hurts them, and they like that.
That is brilliant.
But then I was like, no, I'm doing this all the time, I'm engaging with horror. But, like, whenever people talked about, like, horror movies and stuff in secondary school and stuff, it was with the same tone of voice that they talked about the Cinnamon Challenge, and I was like, I don't care for those.
I'd never thought of it that way.
No.
Horror is dare.
It's walking up to the cliff edge.
Watching the original Nightmare on Elm Street at a sleepover with a bunch of other teenagers was absolutely a dare. So and then there was cow tipping. I grew up in the country. It was weird. Let's just not go there.
Now would be a very bad time to say that I looked 18 about 3 years before I was 18. So getting into 18 certificate movies in this country wasn't an issue. And I also, my mum was very sympathetic to a whole variety of the things I was going through. So periodically she'd just go, do you want me to rent you an awful movie? Yes, please.
It's her fault!
Would you like me to rent you The Terminator? Yes, I would.
It's her fault that you are beloved of horrible underdog movies.
Yes.
I'm very film shy. That's my problem. Is that I am and I always have been. But I thought that meant that I didn't like horror. But I love freaking myself out and I love freaking other people out. But I'm just film shy. I can't watch the horror movies. They're not for me.
But so you don't like visual representations of horror, but you don't mind audio representations of horror or like what's it called when you read a book and you see the images in your head? Self-identified images of horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we all know how to scare ourselves the most, right? So we imagine those things that they might not necessarily put on the screen that we would really, really hate.
Yeah.
I lost count of the amount of times as a kid I would read UFO books and my brain would go, this is going to terrify you. You're going to be lying awake at night waiting for grey aliens to take you away. And I'd be like, man, it's fine.
Well, that's true. And Shiny Opals, I'm not telling. That's a whole nother hour. Shiny Opals wants to know if the cow tipping was before or after the Federalist Papers. And the short answer is about the same time, to be honest. You make your own fun when you're a kid in the country. Let me just say.
Chapter 25.
Yeah.
Your Life's So Drunk by Alexander Hamilton.
That would actually really, really work. So you experiencing night terrors at the same time you were reading about grey aliens was quite formative, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm very credulous.
As we all know.
Tell them.
I think everybody on the stream has heard the story of why Alasdair is never allowed to go to Darren Brown shows unaccompanied. Maddie has attentive face.
So I was a trained stage magician when I was a kid, because it
of course
that or cow tipping.
Why am I not surprised?
Exactly, And so I've always really liked the form, and I really like Darren Brown stuff.
Stage magic, cow tipping,
The secret is you produce the cow, then it
perfect for each other.
1 year for my birthday, I asked for tickets to go see him because I realised I lived in a real country now where things happened that you could go to. And we showed up, and I didn't realise at the time, but Marguerite moved into what I call close protection mode. Because...
No. There were rules. We're not showing up early. You're not allowed to talk to any of the staff. You're not filling out any surveys or any questionnaires. You're going directly on time, directly to your seat. You're bringing your own snacks,
And here's the thing. Despite being a trained
rules
member
help control the fun.
of this industry, I'm ambling in there going, oh, this is fun. We're going to see a magic. This will be great. So we take a seat. He comes out, starts yapping away. And he decides to throw... he does this, 3-question exercise, which is all about trust. And the first question, if you got it wrong...
It's one of those, sit down if you get it wrong, stay standing up if you got it right. And he goes through 3 rounds of this.
I sat down instantly.
He sat down on the first round. Me and 3 other people are the last ones standing. And then what we've realized through the rest of the night is that as he's randomly throwing frisbees into the audience to select people for sticks, he's avoiding those of us who are standing up because he knows he doesn't want to get us. But yeah,
I think what may have helped is Marguerite spending the entire show periodically going.
I wasn't that bad, but yeah.
Ice front brown.
You are credulous.
Yes. I'm also very easily hypnotized. I feel like I shouldn't be saying this out loud in public. Let's move on.
Brief tangent.
Yes.
You liked Inside. There is a magic show that I feel like is very similar called In and of Itself that I think you should check out.
I will do that very thing. Thank you.
It's not funny, but it is it's too magic. It's magic version of what Bo Burnham is doing with comedy. It's not a funny thing, but it's a thing that makes you go, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Oh, that's a good recommendation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I would totally stare him down to Becky.
I will absolutely check that out. And yes, Inside is fantastic, and is now filed with The Grey, the Liam Neeson movie, which I saw and went, this is amazing. Probably never need to see this again.
It was really intense. Yeah, it absolutely would. Where are the rest of your questions?
They're in the book on the floor that I was styling out.
Threw your notebook to the ground as well.
We'll do it live. It's fine. It live.
Exactly. Or it might be time to ask the audience if they have more questions.
I actually have one more.
Oh, you do have one more. Okay, go. Quick. Audience, start thinking of your questions. I love this whole jazz smooth. You've got the Garrus Vicarian jazz smooth thing going on here.
I'm just kind of... Here's the thing. I do a lot of dancing by myself and talking to myself, which is how I'm and why I am like this. So I just I just look in a mirror and practice moving. It's very funny.
It's great.
It is.
Now we got to figure out how to put that into audio. Because it doesn't work so well, does it?
Well, I mean, I practice talking as well, which is how this happened.
Oh, okay.
So, what can you tell us about season 2?
Well, I can tell you
it's gonna happen.
That if that I have an idea for what the season trailer is going to be, and if you dislike repetition or it makes you nauseous, maybe skip that one.
Okay.
But for season 2, we've started working on it. We've assigned the houses. By the way, for the first season, we did not assign them. People picked them. But for this one, because we're trying to work in a committee, I've been be a little bit more intentional about what we're doing. Mm-hmm. I'm these are the ones that I think work, because we got 27 submissions for a 20 episode season. So it was
submissions. So did you open up to pitches for season 2?
No, we have, I think, one new person, but that was because of nepotism. And also I read the
fair.
I read the draft of this person's episode, and I love it.
There you go.
So, but for season 2, I know their theme has emerged, as I have said, it's gonna be wild, and it's gonna be the So there are a couple of questions that that arose in season 1 that we're going to try and address, if not answer, by the end of season 2. There will be new faces, there will be old faces,
new questions,
all that good stuff.
So are we going to see the other side of the streets, or are we going to see round the corner? Does Little Street continue in perpetuity? So 21 through math 40?
Okay. Again, I do not want to spoil it. What is on the other side of the street? I mean, it's not that important. I mean, I don't know why. everyone who listens to the show puts so much significance on that. Like, I know, like, that's what the season ended on, but, like, that's just dramatic. Like, you know, I just think that you shouldn't worry too much or look into or just think about what's on the other side of the street, because you shouldn't worry about it and you shouldn't think about it and you shouldn't think too hard about it and just don't think about it.
You should make eye contact with it, and you shouldn't look at it directly, and you should just keep walking and go back to that nice bakery.
Well, I'm vastly reassured. I'm sure everything's fine.
It's all gonna be grand, right? Like,
exactly. Oh God, I'm terrified. Great.
See, I have this beautiful mental image now of season 2 powering up, and you know, Rod Serling and Mark Gatiss, the most recent version of the Man in Black, just walking down the street and starting in a, oh hello, and you're like, excuse me, oh pardon me, this is your badge, of course, I'll move on.
Oh, what a great premise for a show! Different horror hosts marking their territory.
Write that down.
yeah, I am obsessed with the idea of doing crossovers with Neighborly, because, like, there are several shows that I have in mind that I think would be cool.
What's your
Hello from the
Hollowoods?
Hollowoods,
Yes.
and Monstrous Agonies, I think, would work really well because of their
Monstrous
setup.
Agonies would fit like a glove.
Yes, that would be really, really good.
Yeah, I think it would be really funny if the narrator wrote into Monstrous Agonies.
I think. Have you heard of Voice in the Dark?
Oh, I think so. I might have listened to it. Is that the one with the radio guy and
Yes.
the people call in with, yeah, and there's like panicking and stuff and he's trying to guide them through
Yeah.
as it happens. Yes, I've listened to that. I'm up to date.
I'm now thinking of someone calling in going, I'm on this street. It's really strange. Don't look at the odd numbered side. Don't look. Don't get out of the car. Keep driving.
Oh, but didn't you notice that, like, in episode 19, Sam says to, I don't want to spoil, this person who calls.
Person redacted.
There's a 20 episode distance between the two houses. It's they're all beside each other. They're all on one side. It's not on the other side. They're all there. They're all lined up in one row. Don't worry about the other side.
Don't worry about the other side of the road. It's all fine.
Just
don't ask too many personal questions about the other side of the road.
Oh, I can't wait for the art
This is
of
gonna be
this.
so good.
This is gonna be so fantastic. Fantastic. Okay,
Oh my
audience. We've been going for about an hour now, so while Maddie has a sip of a beverage, fire away with your
Hydrate,
questions.
don't hydrate.
Hydrate, don't hydrate. Yes. Oh, what? Well, Maddie drinks from the sacrificial llama. Pay no attention to the person on the other side of the street. Yes, that's correct. So it is probably going to take us a little bit of lag time in order for folks to catch up. So in the meantime, you've talked a little bit about season 2, which we're all very excited about. What other stuff are you working on? I mean, obviously you now have a novel to sell, so we can have you back on to talk about that.
Of course.
So in your copious spare time when you're putting down things and getting other people
And
to
resting
help you,
by
and
working on something different.
what are you doing to recharge your creative, batteries when you're taking breaks?
I don't have much of an answer, because what I do if I don't read something, I get crappy. So that's usually what I'm trying to do. Right now I'm reading this collection of short stories, which, by the way, if you like H.P. Lovecraft but wish it was better, and also like Kafka, get this.
Okay, so join us next week when Cassandra Caw's here, and Cassandra Caw's one of those fantastic authors who says Lovecraft, oh fuck that, we can do so much better with cosmic horror. Yes.
The reason why I draw a Lovecraft comparison is that I find a lot of Lovecraft stories are revelatory rather than plot based. Like, particularly like what is it? The thing about Antarctica, it's not about what happens, it's about what you find out.
It's about what you discover.
Like, for example, one of the stories in this is a story about what if tapeworms could communicate with you, and it's not a story, it's like as though it's a scientific paper almost, and it explains.
Ooh, so almost epistolary. No.
Yeah, and it's like tapeworms that have on their body this like poetic cell structure that you can actually translate and read, and it has a couple of examples. And I just, yeah, this guy, he's a Holocaust survivor as well, and like a lot of the stories you can really kind of tell. I'm just okay. I need to stop.
No, that sounds like a really good book.
No, seriously.
No. What would it be on a Wednesday night stream if we didn't make people go buy books, Maddie? Right?
Yes. I picked this up in a charity shop, and I've had it in my wardrobe for months, if not years. And I have been also saying for months, like, I found out this little factoid about axolotls, and that if you feed an axolotl mammalian thyroid, it will turn into a salamander. And my thought was, what if this happened with humans? And I was like talking about this at length and going on huge mad rambles in like voice calls with all my friends, like, what if this happened to humans? There is a story about that in this book that's been in my wardrobe for months.
Amazing.
Okay, Maddie, if you read the next story in the book and it's about the other side of the little streets, please call us and we'll get a young priest and an old priest.
I know a couple,
and
it's
we'll
fine.
get in the car and come help you.
Whilst I remember, if you want a deeply brilliant and weird scientific thing to completely obsess over, I have a tab on my computer which has been there for the last 3 weeks, and it is for the deep scattering layer. Are you familiar with this? There is a point about, I think, 2,000 feet down in the ocean where sonar bounces.
It just doesn't work.
And the only possible explanation they've come up with for why it bounces is because that area is crammed with life. There is an ecology in this layer. The fish so thick on the ground that sonar bounces off them. And if that is not referenced in the sequel to The Meg, what is Jason Statham even for?
I've read The Deep, you know? I know what's down there. No.
About whales, tangent. Today I found out that the Irish word for whale translates to big louse, and I just...
I love that.
The Irish word for giant squid translates to big mother of suck, and I just... And the Irish word for jellyfish is seal snot, and I just love it. I love my language.
I have to tell you this, because coming from the Isle of Man, this is kind of adjacent to your magnificent nonsense. I went to school with like 15 guys called Juan, spelt Juan, and I never thought anything of it until someone sat me down and told me with a straight face about how many Spanish Armada vessels were shipwrecked on the Isle of Man. Which is why Juan is spelt the same way as Juan.
Exactly. Okay, so we have a question. What's your favorite and least favorite jobs you've given yourself to do?
Oh, that's a good one for it.
Okay, so I did answer this roughly in the Q&A, but I will tell you that probably my favorite thing to do is either writing or soundscaping. If you listen to the first 5 minutes of episode 14, I'm obsessed with them. So it was the first time in my sort of career of doing this where I was like, I want this to sound a specific way. And I sat down and I looked up the stuff and I layered it all together. And I was like, I have made it sound like what it sounds like in my head.
Great.
Awesome.
And now I will play
fantastic.
that 5 minutes forever, and I will never let it go.
Yeah. There's also a song at the end of that episode, so it's a good one. It's also the one that made lots of people go, hang on, what? In this podcast? What? My least favorite is actually voice acting. I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
Dig into that. Why is it that you don't enjoy it?
I like making funny voices. I don't like my voice. In fact, when people are like, oh, your voice sounds really good, I almost get like really emotional. Partly because I'm transgender, so vocal dysphoria. Yes. which, by the way, is going to be wild because I am going to go on testosterone at some point, and we will probably still be making Neighborly, so the narrative was just going to go really low.
Oh,
but that would be awesome.
Yes.
And then the other thing about it is that I, because I'm autistic, don't have great control over my muscles. I'm a little bit clumsy, and that it kind of extends to this area. So I will like slip up over and 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 over again on simple words when I'm recording. And especially because I'm doing a voice, like sometimes it comes out smoother, but sometimes it's harder to do this voice and pronounce it in this way, but also say this word. For example, and I am going to call out J.R. Steele, who's in the chat right now, who specifically wrote an episode that would be difficult for me to pronounce. And I was like, okay, this is all about learning. This podcast is all about learning, so we are going to do this.
This is an educational experience.
Oh my god, and hell. The bloopers are going to come out soon as well.
Yay!
And I get very, like, okay, there's a very unedited version of the bloopers that is on Patreon, and I get very angry in those because
it's frustrating. It's hard.
Yeah.
You're like, would you just say the word?
And the last thing about it is my accent, which is very strange, because I was born in Ireland. My mother is an engineer, and she's been traveling all around the world for work ever since I was a little kid, and I learned how to talk in California.
Like, oh my god, for sure.
Oh my god, yeah, totally. That's my base
dude
accent.
about the thing.
And after I learned how to talk, I went to kindergarten in Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And so,
which I know because you pronounced it correctly. Well done. I went to school in Milwaukee for a short period of time. So yeah.
And then before I was 5 years old, we moved back to Ireland, where I was relentlessly bullied for having an American accent. And people would like follow me around and like copy everything that I said. So I took it upon myself to copy the only other girl in my class. So there were 3 people in my class in primary school. Myself, this guy who hated my guts for no reason, and this person who was not from the location where I grew up, but from a county in the west of Ireland called Mayo. And the thing about Mayo is that they don't pronounce things the way that the people where I live pronounce things. So I learned, I was teaching myself an Irish accent, and I taught myself by pronouncing the word road as road, because that's how people from Mayo say it. So, and like my family, like my father is from Dublin. My grandparents are from Roscommon, which is in the west, and my mother's family are all from South Ulster. Okay. So like below the border, but like in Ulster. And so my accent tends to change wildly depending on where I am and who I'm with.
He can walk off the ferry gangplank on the Isle of Man, and by the time he gets to the end of it, that Manx dip is back in his voice. It's literally that much of a difference.
You gotta.
My parents sounded like Radio 4 because they both came from Leeds. So their natural accent was this. And they were both bullied for it. So they taught themselves how to talk properly. So, of course, that's why I sound like I've fallen out of the World Service. But the Manx accent is a sine wave.
Yeah, if you've ever been to, like, upstate Maine in the United States, it's that where should you be kind of up and down thing going on. That's very much the Manx as well.
And it's in there. It just comes out.
It was terrifying. We went to the island. The accent picked up. We went to see some of his friends, and they literally like picked up a conversation they had put down 20 years ago, like smack in the middle of it, and just started talking. And I was sitting there going, "What is happening?" It's true. Everybody, I'm convinced people from the Isle of Man are all deep ones. And every once in a while, one is allowed to escape, who then must be called back to be put in the wicker man and sacrificed so the harvest will come back. Don't ever go back, please. Please, don't be in a cage of bees with Nicolas Cage. I just couldn't handle it.
Anyway,
I mean,
you had a point.
Alasdair, do you know any Gaelic words? Manx Gaelic words?
No, it is actually one of my fundamental regrets, because I had the option of doing Manx Gaelic GCSE.
Really?
And because my parents were like, no, we are from the mainland, you must not settle down here, it was very much off the table for me.
Yeah. I am from the Republic. I'm very proud. But like, I'm dating a Scots person. My boyfriend is Scottish, and he speaks Lowland Scots, but not Highland Scots. But I'm very interested in Highland Scots because I have at times seen a sentence of Highland Scots and just read it as though it were Irish, and like gotten halfway through and then got stuck on a word and been like, wait, what? This doesn't make any sense. And then been like, oh my god, wait, this is a different language.
the family of languages are very close together. And I mean, the really weird thing with Manx Gaelic is it's basically a zombie language. Everyone who spoke it died.
Yeah.
And they have resurrected it from
Literally
from wax cylinder recordings and written texts. I actually have a friend who, for a long time, was paid to live in a 19th century fishing village on the cliffs.
It looks like Hobbiton. It's ridiculous.
And like it was.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is another special interest of mine is Irish history. So when Oliver Cromwell told the Irish, you can go to Hell or you can go to Connacht, there was a mass migration of people going west to this like extremely barren part of the island that you can't really grow a lot of places on. But that is where Irish culture is kind of preserved over there. And they still speak Irish as their daily language every day, despite all of the efforts to make them stop. So it's like a summer tradition here that you can pay to go to a college and speak nothing but Irish for 3 weeks at a time, and be surrounded by the language when you go to the shop, when you go to classes to learn more of it, when you're talking to your friends, when you're in your like dormitory at night, you are talking Irish 24/7. And I have to tell you, like, there is like a hunger in my soul to speak it, and it is so satisfying whenever I get the opportunity. So and I am translating the first episode of Neighbourly.
Street, right?
I've started.
We have to put together a Kickstarter to send Maddie to Irish language immersion school so that Maddie can translate episodes of Neighbourly into Irish.
I mean, I already started. There's another thing is that I'm a fiend for spoiling my own content. So I will go in the fan server. This is the thing, is that it's partly because, like I said, I have to give everyone all the information I have about everything ever. It's partly because, like Andrew says, one of the things that I do in order to prevent myself from doing this is I will explain the entire plot of the next episode that hasn't come out yet, but I will do it in Irish. And nobody understands what I'm saying, but I still get out.
That is an excellent, brain hack. It's like, honor is satisfied, and you are all plebeians who don't understand my genius.
There is a lady on Twitter who I will dig out and send you the content details of, because I think you would really dig what she's doing. She is translating popular culture into forms of Gaelic. She's actually just been paid by the Among Us creators to do the Gaelic language version of Among Us. And I think you might really like some of the stuff that she's experimenting with. I shall pass the details on.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. There's a lot of drama. I can go on about Irish language, Irish culture, Irish history for a while.
Yes. That's a whole other hour, right? We totally need this emoji. All right, folks in the chat. Last call for questions, because we're going to exhaust poor Maddie here. We've been running for almost an hour and a half.
Are you kidding me? You got me to talk about things. That's what energizes me. Like, no joke, one day I was really upset and really sad and down on myself. And one of my friends was like, hey, Maddie, can you just tell me a bunch of facts about ants? And I did. And I felt way better.
You've done the exact same thing to me.
Yeah, it's like, so I don't understand the plot to this movie. And then he just keeps talking. Yeah, it's good. It works. It works. Well, everybody needs that in their life. You need somebody who can help you in the way that you need to be helped. And finding that is...
My friend Alex T. Blue made this for me. And Andrew, who does the art for the show, got me a box full of tiny ones.
Best
It is
ants.
decorated.
Sometimes you just need a box full of
Just
ants.
need a box full of ants.
It totally happened.
Also, speaking of things and showing them to the camera, this is an embroidery
Oh, I love it.
from the wonderful Ilsa, who is Plants and Bees in chat.
I love that we have cosplay, a thematic cosplay going on here. This is so cool.
Yes. It was amazing to, like, after the first episode come out, like, literally the day of, there's, like, TikTok cosplays and, like, fan art and, like, people are, like, talking about it, and I'm just like, ah! Also, I think that having so many people on is kind of a built-in word-of-mouth advertising.
Yes, it is.
Especially because, like, almost everybody who worked on the show hadn't done something before, except for James, who is the reason why I started doing podcasts. Yeah.
But no, promoting a show and making people aware of it is a lot of work. And if you divide that work between a whole lot of people, because we all know that on social media, interaction is very much what people are gravitating towards. I mean, you can schedule stuff all you want, but people want to see people interacting. And so having a whole group of people to interact is fun. Like when you have shows that are spaceships and dragons and tentacle monsters who act like a bunch of
and sentient theatre,
and this theater who act like unruly children who hold on to each other. That worked pretty well. Let's see, there's one more question. As someone who wants to make a fiction podcast that starts as an anthology but builds into a cohesive narrative, would you have any suggestions on plot?
Start seeding early.
Gotcha.
Yeah, absolutely. The more little
so there are a lot of things in
breadcrumbs
season 1 of Neighborly that people haven't picked up on that will become very important later.
So are you gonna, like, when you have 2 or 3 seasons down the road where you've picked up on all of those breadcrumbs, and I see everybody in the chat yelling at you, Maddie, shush! You should totally do, like, you know how on DVD movies or Blu-ray movies, there are commentaries where, like, the movie will be playing, but then, like, some of the actors or the director will be talking about stuff. You should do commentary records of the episodes where you're like,
I will. Okay, I have something that I can say about season 2 that is not a spoiler. But basically, by the time I figured out what I wanted to do for my part of, like, the long-term idea of what Neighborly is, I realized that the pace we were taking was quite slow. So season 2 is a little bit more, but it is still, we're still drip feeding you at this point.
Gotcha.
There is still a lot more stuff.
There are ample Easter eggs for the discovery, is what you're saying. There's a
Yes.
lot of... No, I was going to say there's a lot
Everybody's
of eggs
yelling at
rotting
me.
in this There's a lot of chocolate left undiscovered. There we go.
Star Trek 7, The Undiscovered Chocolate.
Everyone, like,
better movie.
I was planning season 2 while we were doing season 1, and everyone was like, "Stop!" I have episodes written. Like, I had the season 2 finale, like, first drafted, like, almost before we started putting out episodes of season 1, and everyone was like, "Stop it! Stop!"
Or you have to have, like, the special notebook of go over there,
Yes.
write it down, leave us alone, we're working.
Write it down in a squee book, put it away until you need it.
Yes, exactly.
I have a document that is just ideas, and it is, like, everything from this is a one-word episode concept to just a quote that appeared in my brain to, like, everything is in there. And then I have another document where I try to arrange it so that it makes sense.
So another question in the chat is, how long do you think Neighborly will be? Do you have a concrete, like, end game?
Well, okay. It's going to take a while. Because what we are essentially doing is, like, stretching your suspension of disbelief a little bit. We're, like, massaging it and pulling it out. Because it gets a bit odd.
Okay.
In a good way.
And you need time to explore all of that. Yes, your people in the chat are
Matty.
yelling at you again.
Matty.
No, Maddie, no.
Oopsie.
Okay, there's the screenshot of the chat. Thank you very much. Fantastic.
Matty, this has been an absolute delight.
Yes. Thank you so much
Please
for
come
coming
back.
on and chatting with us. This has been fantastic.
I would love to come back.
I'm trying to think about how we could have an interview with more of the cast, and I'm like, I don't think we could. I think we'd have to just like put everybody in a Discord server and we'd just sit here and watch all of it.
Tell us what you think, so people.
Yes.
What if we just gave you a press pass to our writers' Discord?
I've already been in the fan art channel. Like, I can't spoil anything, but there's so much cute stuff in there. It slays me. I love it.
I have fan art on the wall.
Amazing.
And a review that says genius.
Yes, because you
You should totally hang on to that one I hear.
Oh my god, killing me.
So do you have you had any thoughts about, I mean, we're not quite here in the position where we can have events again, but have you started to think about things like live shows or...
Yes. I have in my brain a very clear idea of what a live show for Neighborly would look like, and it is a lot of like quick changes.
Oh, hell yes.
Oh, that sounds really, really cool.
And a big set piece that comes with us everywhere, and it's gradually revealed. Yeah,
And
I have a very
puppets!
vivid daydream of what that would look like.
Puppets and Hamlet. And everybody's yelling at you
Hamlet
not to
is
spoil it right now. I'm like, shush.
I have threatened to put Hamlet in an episode. There are a couple of people who just hate him so much that they said that if I put him in an episode, I have to put specifically Hamlet in the content warning.
Content warning, clowns, comma, Hamlet.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
This has been delightful, Maddie.
Yes.
Thank you so very much for coming on to chat with us. We really appreciate
Thank you for having me. It's been so fun.
it. Exactly. So, what final words do you want to leave everybody with? Go listen to Neighborly and review it.
Well,
obviously.
what
but-
else?
Of course. I mean,
Except for, thanks for listening. Come back soon.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Well done. Okay, everybody, we are going to say goodnight to Maddie and get ourselves a stream snack and a stretch because it's been about an hour and a half. So make sure you do the same. Get up, take a stretch, get some water, and then we will come back for some shenanigans in a little tiny bit.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Have a good one. We'll see you shortly.